Okay, so I'm going to continue on with my watercolor demos. So far, we've created a sky by making a gradient and letting that water drop run all the way down, adding to it with our watery watercolor. We put some clouds in. We've got the little house taped off, and we did a thirsty brush to create, to pull away some liquid. We used paper towel to create some clouds. We talked about reference photos and making a thumbnail. We talked about holding your brush high up. And what I didn't mention that I need to mention is that when you're not using your brush, don't ever leave it in your water. Okay, it's really bad for the brush. Instead, you need to rinse it off and set it on your tray or on a paper towel or something. Okay, let's go ahead and get some green. I have some old green from whatever I was painting last time. I'm just going to reconstitute it. That's the great thing about these palettes. If you get one of these, you can just leave your old paint in it and you can come back to it later and you can reuse it. I do that all the time. I should show you guys, I've got a travel watercolor palette that I take with me when I go places. It's kind of embarrassing. I pretty much don't really clean it. I just keep using a lot of those colors over and over again. So gets a little messy. All right, so I've got some green. It's pretty watery. I think I'm going to go ahead and get this field right behind here, and then I'll get the field up in front, which is going to be a big gradient. And then I want to show you some tricks for getting texture on your field areas. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and see if I can get this area in. I don't love this color green, actually, guys. Let me add a little something. We are going to do a color theory assignment later in the course where we're just going to get you the basics of color theory. We can't cover it all in this class, unfortunately, but I'm going to hit the highlights of what you guys should know in terms of design. This class, you know, I think if you talk to a lot of people in the fashion design world, they're going to, especially here at Trade Tech where we really value the technical skills, they're going to tell you that flats is what it's all about. But we're going to pack as much of the kind of art, design, color theory as we can in here. What I did with my green was I added some yellow to it just to knock it down a little bit, make it a little bit more, just a little bit less pure. I don't love super like saturated colors when they're not dulled out. They look a little bit childish. Maybe you can work that to your advantage in a project like this, though, because it is a children's wear project. We're going to do that color theory lesson a little later in the course, right about week 6. And at that point, we can talk about saturation and hue and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I'm going to take that green and I'm going to add some brown to it and get it even more kind of murky. And then I'll go ahead and do my field. Okay, so I need a decent amount. One of the mistakes people make is they don't mix up enough paint when they get started. And then if you run out, middle of the thing, you run out of paint, that's always kind of stressful. So mix up a decent amount of paint and that way you'll be good to go. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to run my way along the whole board. You can see right there, do you guys see it? That's where I was holding it. That's where I was holding it with my fingers. And even though I actually did wash my hands just a minute ago after I was eating something, even so there was enough oil on my fingertips to make the paint not absorb. So be really careful about that. Okay, I don't want to get too dry. I want to make sure I continue to have that bead of water running all the way down. Do your best not to backtrack. If you backtrack on this, your color won't be as smooth. I'm going to get just a little further along here, and then I think I'm going to start adding in some water and maybe fade it up to become more light. There's a little random trick I learned recently that as you're trying to draw something in color, aiming out towards the distance, as you're getting way out into the distance, a little trick is if you mix some of the sky color with the ground color as you get closer to the horizon line, that's a really effective trick for making it look like the ground is going away from you. Because if you think about it, it makes sense. The atmosphere, you're seeing such a thicker layer of atmosphere as you're looking farther away. Okay, and I'm going to start now adding in some water. You could add in a different color. You could add in some yellowy paint here. It's totally up to you. And again, you might not even be doing a nature scene. Maybe you're painting the inside of a schoolhouse. working my way up here. And what I'm going to do after this is I'm going to show you just a couple of ways to get some fun texture on big areas like this, so it's not quite so boring. Okay, almost done here. Oopsie, that was a little messy. Okay. All right, something like that. Okay, now, while this is still wet, what I'm gonna do here, and you can see, can you guys see, it did what's called blooming. This is where my paint went back and ran back into itself. To be honest with you, I don't mind that one bit. I could turn that into little bushes or something later on. I'm gonna leave it alone. So here's a trick. If you have any salt, okay, if you guys have a little salt, you can actually sprinkle salt on your watercolor, and as long as the paint is wet enough, like it's pretty wet right up there, the salt is going to absorb the paint and it'll give you some really interesting texture. I think it works better when the paint is a little bit more wet. Let me see if I can do an area down here and I'll get you a better visual on it. Okay, let's go ahead and I'm just going to add some paint in here. Just add a little paint, and ooh, did you see it? Look at that. So let it dry, and then you can shake the salt off. This is really nice if you want to create a sandy beach, or if you want to create gravel or some sort of roadway, or you just want texture maybe on the side of a building, but you can file that away as kind of a fun little trick. Okay, I'm waiting for this to dry. When you test it with the back of your fingers, because as we just said, the tip of your fingers has a lot of oil. And if you wanted to make like some grasses or things up there, let me show you a couple of ways to do that. This same brush, this brush is a little soft. Let me see what I've got in my bag of tricks here. I have this one. I don't even think this is a watercolor brush. I don't know where I got this. If you mix up some paint that's a little bit less watery, let me see if I can do it. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use this one. I like this brush. So with a brush that's pretty dry, I'm going to see if I can spread those bristles out. I'm going to mix up some paint that's not too watery, and then I'm going to see if I can brush up some grasses. So I'm just mixing some brown, and I'll add in some more green so that it feels like it kind of relates to everything else. And I'm going to I'm going to try to get my bristles to spread out. This is actually not the right type of brush for this technique, but I still wanted to show you guys. Let me see if maybe I can just spread it out with my fingers. No, I don't think it's going to work. I don't think it's going to work with that guy. Actually, guys, I do not have the right kind of brush for this. If your brush is really stiff, you'll be able to sweep up and get some grasses. For me, I'm not getting anything. I'm just getting brush strokes. But if you can get your brush to be spread out like that. Let's see if I can do something like this. Oh, okay, that kind of worked. I dipped, I'm sorry, I'm losing it on my camera. I dipped straight into my watercolor pot. And you can see I'm getting a little bit of a grassy effect. Do something like, you could do something like that if you wanted something in the foreground. And that's with a really dry brush. Okay. All right, let me get this tree in place. And then, and some bushes. I'll do the bushes first. No. I'm going to do the tree first. Okay. So listen, guys, I'm going to do a tree. Everybody's instinct with a tree is to do the trunk first. I am going to change your ways here. Okay. I'm going to do the tree leaves first. Let me get my reference photo. So I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to dot in all of these orangey tree leaves before I draw the trunk. Okay, I have found that gives you a much better result. So I'm going to take my round brush. Again, it's a pretty big brush, and I highly encourage you guys to work with a bigger brush than you think you need. It always makes things go faster, and maybe more importantly, it keeps you working more loose. If your brush is too small, you start to fuss with details, and it's very easy to get the whole thing looking a little bit overworked. Okay. So I mixed up a puddle of orange, And I'm going to, let me see if I can rearrange things so you guys can see this a little better. Bring this over here. Thank you guys for those of you who sent in feedback about the videos and the length of the videos. It sounds like what I'm hearing from people is you guys don't mind the longer videos. So I'll separate them just for the sake of uploading, but I won't, yeah, I guess you could always watch it at fast speed if you needed to. Okay, so I'm gonna put a tree in here. Ready? Look at how I'm holding my brush really far away from the tip. And I'm going to get some color on here, okay? It's a tree, it's nature, it's not perfect, and that's what we love about it. And I'm not gonna obsess over this, you guys. I'm just gonna see if I can, it's almost like writing hieroglyphics or some other, you know, like some other, you know, beautiful script language where I'm just sort of letting it be loose. It's like a weird script. And I'm working very wet. It'll dry, and as it dries, it'll do those blooms, which just add to the beauty of the tree. Notice also how much of the paper, I'm not coloring the whole thing in, I'm leaving paper in between. Put a little blob here, put a little blob there, maybe a little blob here, okay? Now, it's still really wet on the page, so one thing you can try doing is go and get a little color, either from your pot of paint directly or from you know, a puddle that you mixed up previously, and see if you can dot in a little color. I'm going to put a little red in some of these spots, and then I'm going to come and put a little yellow in some other spots. And then the key here, which is easier said than done, is we just need to be patient, kind of let it start to dry. The watercolor, it definitely is an exercise in patience, because you gotta let it dry in between each of these steps, or else it'll run together. Like I let my sky dry before I came in and did my green areas. And now I'm gonna have to let my tree dry before I can come in and put my trunk. Okay, but this is the start of a tree. It didn't take me long. I'm working pretty loose, and I can sit here and I can kind of play with it. I can babysit it. I can add color as it's drying. You know, feel free to do whatever you want, but at this stage, I kind of need to let it dry. I could add salt to this too. That would actually be a really nice effect, I think, is to add a little salt to it. You could also come in with your paper towel and you could blot some parts up. I don't want to lose it all though. I want it to stay a little bit dark. So I think I'm just going to have to be patient and come back to this in a minute when it's dry. While that's drying, I'm going to move over and do a little bit of stuff over on this side of the painting. So let me see if I can get some green, like a nice dark green. Get some of this. Get a little bit of this. Blue. Yeah, I like that. Okay. Is it too saturated? I do not know. Add a little brown just to dull it down a tiny bit. Okay. Okay, so I've got a color that I think will work here. I am going to put in some of these little bushes. So when we look at this, you can see that those little bushes, they're kind of right up on the horizon line, except for this one guy that's down below it. So I'll come in and I'll put this one in place. Same big brush. I have not used my tiny brush at all. I'm just using big brushes. And then I'm going to come and put some of them right up along. Let's put them right in here. Maybe I'll put, these are a little smaller because they're out in the distance, and I'll see if I can just dot them in right behind my little farmhouse. This is kind of soothing. This is when I really feel like Bob Ross. Put my little bushes in here. Okay. Maybe they go all along like that. Okay. Again, it can be a little bit abstract because the point of the drawing is going to be all about your adorable kids and their cool outfits. Okay, now I can do the same thing with that. I could drop in a little bit of yellow. I could drop in a little bit of blue underneath it. Shadows, when we do shadows, a lot of people assume you need to do shadows in black, but quite honestly, guys, I'm as likely to do a shadow with dark purple, believe it or not, as I am with black. Purple is kind of a secret weapon shadow color. I like using that a lot. Okay, maybe let that dry. Now, my tree still not dry. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to take a thirsty brush and see if I can pick up a little bit of this. Okay. Okay, let me talk about the trunk. How are we doing on time? We're okay. I found these videos are a little harder to upload when they get a little bit longer. Okay, so, ooh, I'm making a mess. I'm making a mess. Hold on. I think the challenge for some folks is going to be, you guys are probably working at home on like a kitchen table or something, and it's always, you know, we never have enough space. I just feel like it's always, I always wish I had a bigger table to work on. Okay, I'm going to pause this, let it dry for a second. Next up is the trunk. Okay, I'm going to put the tree trunk in. So here's an old one where you can see I sort of dropped in the tree trunk. This has salt on it. That's how I got some of that tree trunk texture on there. And for this guy, I have mixed up some darkish brown, and I'm still using that big brush, guys. I'm still using the big brush. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in my tree trunk. Let me actually pull the reference photo over so everybody can see. It's the top right. You can see all those branches that come up, and they hide behind the leaves. That's why I don't draw the trunk first, okay? Because I need the trunk to stop and start behind the leaves. Okay, and guess what? It's still wet. Ugh. This is like, it's like Friday afternoon. I'm like, let me do the demo so I can go home. And it's a rainy day too. I'm really looking forward to being cozy at home. Okay, so it's sort of running up into my leaves. Do I care? I mean, I care a little bit. It would be better if the leaves were dry and I could just come in behind. But this is why, guys, I put the leaves first, because now I can come in with the tip of my brush, or if you don't have a tip brush like this, you could use a skinny brush for this. And I'm just going to put my trunk in and allow it to go in behind. Like maybe I need a little branch here, a little branch here, a little branch here. Don't let it be too perfect. Again, look at how far I'm holding my brush from the tip, and that's because I can sort of allow the brush to take on a mind of its own and create some branches that look a little bit more random. Okay, it's hard to get randomness, you know, when you're manually trying to do it, but I can do it when I let the brush sort of take control of itself by holding it really far back. Okay, there are some branches. I could probably put more in. I kind of deviated from my reference photo. The reference photo had them splitting off from the base, but yeah, I'm fine with this. Okay, so there's my tree. Maybe then I want to put some grasses or something. Oh, I know what I need, guys. There were all those leaves at the bottom. That's why I picked this picture. Look at all that orange, all the leaves that fell on the ground. I mean, how fantastic is that? So let me come in here and I'm going to take my orange, and then at the risk of my white outfit, why I'm wearing white today, I do not know. I'm going to see if I can splatter in some leaves. It's not giving me as much as I want. Let me hand splatter in some leaves. And then you guys can certainly like splatter, like even if you've got a toothbrush or something, you could do that. Okay. You can also come in with a colored pencil later after this dries, and you can add more. I'm gonna let that fade out so it doesn't look quite so harsh. Okay, so I have my pile of leaves underneath. That's a good spot for salt. Try to get my leaves to look a little bit more textured. Ooh, that's going to be fun. Okay, now we're talking, guys. And my leaves up here are starting to dry, and they're drying lighter. While it's still just a tiny bit wet, you can come back in and just dot in a little bit of color and bring it back. If it starts to fade on you, just come in and bring it back. I will almost always do this if I have time, but it does require just sort of being nearby as it's drying and keeping an eye on it. Okay. All right, I'm going to do a third video where I do that other style of tree. I'll be right back.